This story comes from the Washington Examiner. No Gaza refugees. Boy, they blatant with that title, aren't they? President Joe Biden wants to assuage his anti Israel critics by allowing Gazan refugees into the United States. But a new Department of Homeland Security Office of Inspector General report reveals how he has already failed to track the 77,000 Afghan refugees admitted into the country. Y'all remember when they pulled out of Afghanistan and we had a lot of Afghan refugees coming over here, living in expensive condos, and you got people homeless out in California, everywhere, really. Let me continue reading, though. I'll get on that in a second. 77,000 Afghan refugees admitted into the country. It shows his administration is not capable or willing to handle any more refugees. When the Afghan government fell apart after Biden removed U.S. troops in a rout against the advice of his generals, the administration sought to minimize the killing of American allies by flying out as many Afghan refugees as possible. Some 97,000 were flown into the U.S. and 77,000 were granted humanitarian parole by DHS. This allowed them to apply for immigration benefits, including resettlement assistance and work authorization. Parole status is good for 2 years as long as the parolee maintains good behavior, gets vaccinated, and reports address changes. Boy, they want you to get jabbed up and everything. I wouldn't trust it. To get benefits, including work benefits, parolees must apply with the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service. Often, the agency's background checks find derogatory information, and it denies benefits. In theory, derogatory information is also grounds for revocation of parole and removal from the U.S. But UCIS is not a law enforcement agency. It turns derogatory information over to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which is then charged with removing the offending migrant from the country. Unfortunately, the DHS Inspector General found that USCIS standards for denying benefits are different from ICE's standards for deportation. New lenient enforcement standards from Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas mean ICE rarely acts against Afghan parolees who violate parole. By executive order, they are not a priority of the Biden administration. The Inspector General report noted that the egregious public safety cases referred by USCIS to ICE, a category that includes murder, rape, sexual abuse of a minor, and drug trafficking. ICE took no action against an offending migrant 94% of the time. That is a lot of egregious public safety risks roaming the U.S. Worse, the report found the DHS has no system for tracking parolees when their parole expires. All Afghan refugees admitted to the U.S. were given 2-year parole. They can apply to renew their 2-year term, but it is not automatic. No one in DHS is taking responsibility for making sure parolees reapply. This means thousands of Afghans admitted to the country legally are becoming illegal immigrants as their parole expires. DHS is doing nothing about this. The U.S. has a record number of foreign-born residents already. College campuses are overrun with activists supporting Hamas violence against Israel. Is that what it is? I mean, I don't have a dog in that fight, but he says overrun with activists supporting Hamas violence against Israel. Military bases are under attack from foreign national infiltration. Now the DHS Inspector General says Biden can't even track existing refugees while he pushes to bring in even more. The people of Gaza have next to nothing in common with the people of the U.S. They would be much better off and more at home in one of many of the Arab nations by which they are already surrounded in the Middle East. United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Kuwait all desperately need laborers. Gazans should go there. Wow. Boy, he was matter of exact, wasn't he? Well, I agree with some things in this article, but it's definitely a right wing article. But I do agree with how we allow so many immigrants into this country and we set them up to make sure they off to a good start. We have too many American citizens already that need help. Like I said, we got a lot of homeless out here on the streets. After the pandemic, the record number of homeless shot up. I think you should always help your citizens before you try to help others. I'm not saying not to help people in need because that's the way this country's always been, but we need to help the people at home first before we can think about helping anyone else. That's just my opinion on the matter. And reparations, we're always told the government doesn't have money for reparations, but yet and still with these programs that we have, that's a form of reparations to people that's not even citizens of this country. You had the Afghans come over here. You had the Ukrainians come over here. And yet and still you tell the black community that we don't have the money to pay reparations for something that was done to our family years ago and still happening. A lot of things pretty much stayed the same in this country. It's just called something else. Instead of slavery, they call it mass incarceration. It's kind of shocking the number of Afghans they say that just didn't show up to get their citizenship renewal. They here on probation for 2 years, and after their probation ends, they supposed to get it renewed, and they just don't show up, and then the government don't have any way. I guess they could find out where they are, but I don't think they're even interested. It seems like they'd just rather let them be than to pursue them. Now, I guess that's by design, though, right? And this guy with his anti-Gazan attitude, I don't have a dog in that fight, so I'm definitely not a fan of Israel. They're not even supposed to be in that area. That's not their homeland. The actual Hebrews that lived in Israel, Jerusalem, in that area, that whole region was predominantly black at one time. Definitely during the time of Christ. That was a black region. All right, I've been rambling on enough. This is probably going to be another long video. Thank you, whoever watched and listen to what I got to say. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.